associations, so Zero, DECO, ANP, WWF here in Portugal, and Siena, we wrote together a manifest. So really to explaining even with data. So now I'll just come back with the presentation. So just briefly something that something that we explore even in our communication is that all consumers, they really want to reduce the single-use plastic waste. And also here in Portugal, 70% of residents in Portugal would really like to reuse packaging for bulk offer. But of course, this offer is not widespread. And although there is a national goal to reduce the plastic waste here, like 5% to 2025 and 15% to 2030, this is not a reality. And so we wrote that manifest together. We launched in 21st of April. So we've been promoting that with the support of other associations here in Portugal, each one saying in Portuguese here, well, the reason why they support the manifest. And even just consumers just really telling like, oh, this is already okay, it's not too late, but it's a solution. So let's do it, and just praising the manifest, which is a petition. So the petition is here on Petição Pública. So for everyone that is watching us, we'll put in the chat the link again if you haven't signed yet. So we have more than 2,000 signatures. We would like perhaps to reach 3,000 today. A bit ambitious, but this is what we've been working on. So and this is the one of the reasons why we invited you both to really just share your company's successful stories of bulk offer, really to show all the Portuguese audience that there is so many alternatives available to make it more affordable, to make it easy, and there is no excuse for the big retailers in Portugal to not adopt that. So so with that brief presentation, I just would like to give the words to Tom Domen from Ecover, Head of Innovation. So please, Tom, just inspire us.
Thank you, Carla. I'll get my presentation up. So I think, yeah, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so indeed, I'm Tom, indeed working as innovation responsible within company and brands, or Ecover methods mainly as brands. And indeed, I'll be talking about what we call our revolution. So it's our journey to make refill really more accessible and really get a broad audience connected to refill. A quick word on Ecover, who we are. So we are a brand that produces ecological washing and cleaning products, so it's laundry and dishwashing detergents, personal care products. And we've been founded in around 79, year 79 already, with a kind of mission to lead this clean world revolution, to change the world and really give visibility to some of the nasty impacts that everyday product has. And it started mainly with the impact of chemicals on waterways. So we started a lot with working with fully degradable and bio-based chemicals. So you didn't have that kind of aquatic impacts anymore. We started to shift from far away tropical sources to local ingredients. But indeed, more and more what we saw was indeed our fight was not just around the ingredients. More and more we saw that just the whole way the industry was working, the kind of take, make, waste, repeat system was leading to this enormous problem of waste. And whether it's chemical waste in the waterways or it's plastic waste in water, they're all part of the same same problem, that we are in this kind of a very linear economy, and we need to get rid of that word waste. So we've picked a few fights in this area. We have a fight around plastic waste, ingredient waste, which is using food waste to make ingredients, and then fashion waste, which is all around our laundry and how we deal with the reuse of laundry. But today is really about our fight against plastic waste. And in that space, indeed, we have done several things. Like we made a commitment already a while ago that by 2020, so past year, all our bottles would be made of 100% recycled content. We've tried renewable materials. We did lots of projects around ocean plastic and using ocean plastic into our bottles. The key thing I'm still kind of proud of, and we still want to continue, we see most value in, is that kind of refill journey. And as you see, like with the poster, that refill journey is well started quite a while ago, already in '93, where we started to put a small manual refill station into a smaller store. But to be honest, we grow as a company quite a lot over those years, but our refill offer has not grown in the same volume. So it always stayed a little bit in that niche corner. So a few years ago, we put ourselves a challenge. Let's pull that niche. Let's pull the refill out of the niche and the smaller shops and get it into supermarkets with a modern solution. Because we see refill being the new recycling. We cannot keep on recycling our way out of the plastic pollution. I think refill is a solution that people want, because there's quite a lot of stuff that's currently going wrong with recycling. And we also see from a consumer point of view that they want packaging free, and it's on everybody's agenda. There's a lot of push, and I think you as a group as well demonstrated that it's something that's coming, and we cannot escape it any longer. But to become the kind of commodity, we need to find a solution that's convenient and valuable. So we need to find it needs to be easy for consumers, and for the retailers, it needs to be viable to implement. For the brands as well, to kind of invest in these new systems. So we start our journey. We had this, what you see on this picture here, this manual refill that wasn't already in place. We have around in total of Europe around 1,500 refill areas where they're using this type of manual system. So how do we get into supermarkets was a challenge. How to get it bigger? And I think the lesson for us was just start doing it. We looked around, we didn't see any kind of perfect solution that was kind of completely viable as from the start in supermarkets, but we started doing it anyhow. And to kind of really get first of all, collaborating with our consumers on that solution. So get feedback from people, from consumers and retailers. So the first test we did here is some of the pictures you see here was with the UK retailer Waitrose, who at that time launched their Unpacked store, which was a whole store around reuse in different categories, and we were driving the detergent categories there with a refill station, which at the time we then designed to thinking, okay, it needs to be all automatic, and it needs to scan barcodes, and it needs to be push a button, and it needs to pump the liquid and everything. And to be honest, it was, from a consumer perspective, though, we had huge kind of enthusiastic people reacting, people like queuing in front of the machine, really applauding us for doing this. But from a technical point of view, we kind of failed big time. A lot of like machine failures and technical challenges, barcode differences at the cashier, because the pricing needs to be different depending on reuse and all these kind of things. So a massive learning for us, a really interesting learning. So we kind of just took that journey forward, and we've started testing multiple different options of refill machines with different partners. So currently we have still 9 tests ongoing across Europe, mainly UK, Belgium, and Holland. And at the same time, we're also testing reuse as with the loop system, which is more the idea that you have your pre-filled bottle in the store, you use it, you give it back to the store, they wash it, refill it, and put it back in the store. And I think those two models are actually quite compatible as a system. So that's where we're evolving to. And I think after all these learnings, testing multiple different machines, working with different partners, different retailers, this is kind of a summary of what we currently today are starting to offer. So we offer a safe methodology where we can trace every batch, because that was one of the issues that if consumers refill, they need to know if there's a problem with the product, they need to trace it back to the actual production lot, which we've included. So there's a system with batch codes and printed on the label. We've optimized the spilling, so there's no spilling anymore. We've kind of fully integrated the whole legal side, that you need all safety ingredients need to be on the label, which was another challenge. And then, for consumer side, we made sure it was easy. And a lot of our learnings were in the beginning. We started with a very high technological machine, with everything, like I said, everything was fully automated. And what we learned that for consumers, it's actually more intuitive if they have more like a manual system. So we can basically combine the best of both worlds. Our manual system that we knew from smaller shops, which was not completely legally fit to go into retailers. We started to adjust that, make sure there was a constant output of liquid, so the time to fill was really speedy, but consumers are still in control of basically filling the bottle, and which we found indeed was the best way of getting people into the habit of refilling. That they can see that they know a tap system. It's all very intuitive, and that was for us really interesting. And then the last part is then the accessibility. So yeah, I think this is our journey to just get it into more retailers. And we also offer empty bottles in the beginning in the retailers, which is not ideal, I know, but to get people in the habit in the beginning, they need to take an empty bottle. We did learn that in the beginning, we sell about 80% people that are taking a new bottle and fill it. And after 2-3 months, that shifts to 80% of people bringing back their old bottle and 20% people still taking a new bottle off shelf. So we see that behavior shifting quite rapidly. So it's really good, interesting evolution. And then maybe one of the key big challenges was these last two here is the business model. So if you think about a refill machine, you're basically investing with technology in each store that you sell. And the issue is with single-use plastic is that single-use plastic is way too cheap. So producing a bottle costs hardly anything. So if you want them to compete with a different system, you need to compete with a damn cheap plastic bottle. So the investment of the machine needs to match basically the plastic you save, and then you need to give an extra discount to consumers. So again, having a very complex technical machine in the store is really nice, but it's just not viable. So again, there we just the idea is to strip it down to make it be a really good experience, but making sure that the cost price of the machine stays below a certain threshold, which we managed to do. And it's all about space optimization in the store. So making sure that you don't put the whole machine into the store. It's basically a system that you can integrate into the shelf is easiest. And I think as a brand, just building that knowledge over the years, it helps for people as well that they can refill a known brand and not some new brand that they haven't heard before, because that would be two behavior changes to change at once. And that you can also invest in that driving consumer behavior change. So we've currently set up as well a partnership. We're setting up partnerships in multiple countries, but with really those core consumer groups that are already driving refill. Often there are communities that live online that champion retail to do refill. We're sponsoring some of those, like C2C in UK. We're sponsoring those initiatives and ask basically those communities to champion with their retailers to add more refill solutions into their store. This is a glimpse of the solutions we're currently offering. So like you see, it's a very flexible system. It's the metal, so the boxes you see here on the picture, those are individual products, and they can basically be integrated in the shelf wherever they want. They can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, however many refill units they want. They're just connected to each other. They're all driven through one central operation system, which then sits here in the middle, which is a small screen. But like I said, it's very flexible to integrate on the shelf. It's quite cost effective. It's very intuitive to use. You just hook your bottle underneath, you tap, and it prints out the label, and then you go. So a solution that really starts working to work for all of the retailers. And then some key learnings here is that wherever we've installed Refill, consumers loved it. Both people started talking about it online. It got lots of PR, lots of press, lots of consumer reaction. One of our always most liked posts through social media is around Refill. But also once we have the machine in store, even if you had in the beginning we experienced some breakdowns and spillage, consumers were still actually quite keen to keep on refilling and to keep and push us to kind of keep on going in that journey. And the only request we got so far is where can you find more refill and where can you find more products to refill from your brand. The second point is that implementing refilling into retailers is really a true partnership between the brand, the retailer, and the technology provider, and you need to work really closely together. So wherever we had like a real strong retailer relationship, we managed to do great things. And even in the beginning, like I said, we made some mistakes in the beginning. With that partnership, we'll be able to correct it, quickly iterate, quickly try new things, and through that journey, indeed, managed to optimize the system. I think the retailer, it's really about like making that part of a broader refill strategy. So making sure it's not just one category, but expand it to multiple categories. So when people go to that store, which you saw at Waitrose with the unpacked concept, it's really a store that, you know, if I go to that store, I can do refill. So I bring my bottles, I bring my whatever I need to bring, because it's changing that behavior. That's really key. And then have a technology provider, like I said, that's able to iterate fast. Because in a store environment, you're never in control of what's happening. So you need to be really able to react very quickly if something goes wrong. And then indeed, it's about having a trusted brands. Definitely there are technical challenges, there are legal challenges with refill, you know, it's like indeed store implementation challenges, but I'm really convinced we have a solution to solve all of them at the moment. And indeed, the technology challenge is sometimes a hurdle, but it's definitely more the usability challenge. And one thing which I forgot to mention earlier is just the maintenance side of the refill machine for the retailers, which was in the beginning as well a big hurdle when we got to the complex machines. Again, by taking away lots of that complexity, the maintenance part of the machine has now shifted to almost comparable to replacing a bottle on the shelf. And cleaning, you don't have to clean anymore because we don't use any piping. So there's big maintenance benefit with the solutions we're offering. And then last but not least, it's really becoming a viable business model to offer refill, because it's driving incremental sales in your retailers. And of course, in the end, that's what we do it for. It drives a massive plastic reduction. And this is just the beginning of the journey. Like, once we have the machines in place, we can start playing with making the machines more smart. You can work with connected packaging, so it measures the amount of refills you've done. You can work with apps, and all of these things are becoming possible. I think the key thing to start is to get those things into retailers and learn from consumer reaction, and then start building all the kind of extra technology and smartness into that solution. So that's it. So for everybody that wants to join our revolution, you can contact me on the below email and let me know if you have other questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Thank you so much. I think you really inspired and even explained that, yes, there are hurdles that you face it already, and we're able to overcome that. And so this is really great to even convince the supermarkets here in Portugal that there are solutions that are ready to be scaled up. So there is not this barrier of replacing the products in the shelf, or loss of the products, or even all the logistics. So this is really great. It's a shame that I left the UK before trying the automatic machine, so I was just like using the manual one, but it was a really great. It was really great to see from small shops that Ecover was able to reach the unpacked store there in UK. So thank you so much, and we'll save some questions for the end. So now, please, I would like to invite Brian to share what our grammar has been doing so far, which is really revolutionizing the offer, either door to door, or I would say what caught much more my attention is democratizing and challenging the poverty tax. So please, Brian.
Sure, thank you so much. I'm just having some troubles, unfortunately, sharing my screen. I've got a brand new computer and it's not letting me share my screen. I've got the deck up on my other monitor, but it's not sharing, unfortunately. I'll improvise and do it without the deck if I can't get this figured out momentarily.
Yeah, I think in terms of our sharing options is all panelists. So I just here, yeah, if it was something.
Yes, we can all share. I'm in the dark, but we can all share our screen. So it's probably something. If you have two screens, it might have to do with that. I don't know how to deal, sorry, because I only use one.
Apologies, I'll try and get this resolved as quick as possible. If I don't get it resolved within a minute or so,
And maybe Brian, we can ask some questions for Tom. We already had here a few questions.
Yeah, why don't you do that? And I'll work on this. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great, Brian. So Louisa is asking, I mean, she is asking in English, but so she said, you mentioned refill was a niche, and also that refill and the centralized refill that Loop uses can complement. Which model do you feel has more potential for scaling up to a wide majority of consumers, and why?
Yeah, it's a good question, and actually I don't have the answer yet, and I'm also really curious to know that answer, because currently I'm betting a little bit more effort on the in-store refill. I think from a consumer, indeed, it's probably more convenient just to take the bottle and give it back, and then it's cleaned for you. So that's the most convenient option, and hence I know, like Loop is saying, it's all about convenience. So this is the model that will survive, and in-store refill is demanding more from people, so it's less likely that it will thrive. Something is to be said for that. At the same time, like a Loop model, of course, it requires collection, cleaning, like it needs to be shipped back to the filler, and then so there's a whole supply chain that's linked to that. And it's infrastructure that needs to be built. So you need to build cleaning infrastructure, preferably close to where the collection is being done. And then maybe filling infrastructure, because you don't want to ship it all the way back to the original factory. So before that infrastructure is being built and made affordable to kind of, also to afford just the cost of all that supply chain, it's going to take a while. Whilst in-store refill can be implemented now, already now at an affordable cost, and it can grow more gentle. I think with Loop you need volumes. That system will work quite nicely once you get like all big brands into it, and they have that as a standard packaging. You get the volumes, then you can set up the whole supply chain and whatever you to support it. The nice thing for me about in-store refill is that we can scale it gradually. It works with our existing bottles. You build infrastructure store by store, and indeed it's not that expensive as infrastructure. You can keep it cheaply. And then there's another thing to me which I find interesting is the award of people. Like, people want to do something good, and actually that act of refilling gives you something back as a person. It's hard to explain, but psychologically people find it actually quite pleasant to do that refill, because they know they've then saved the bottle instead of an anonymous box where they need to drop in the bottle and take a new one. But yeah, again, we'll see in the end who. I think the two systems will though continue and which live side by side.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you, Tom, as a consumer as well. There is a reward feeling of doing it by yourself, and also you think about how much water is used to wash it, you know, and all the transportation. So I guess even to life cycle assessment, perhaps, you know, the model will be more challenging, you know, to be more sustainable than I keep the bottle and I myself just go to the shop and refill that.
Yeah. I have to give you the watch out though. If consumers start cleaning the bottle each time, then an industrial cleaner is sometimes more efficient. But it depends. You don't need to clean your bottle actually, especially for detergent. You could, if you fill the same product, then it's fine. If you do it, then yeah. So if you go into the LCA, you know, depending on what type of cleaning you do, it will give you all different types of results. So it's definitely not a black and white answer almost. But yeah, and like intuitively, you would say, you know, if you just bring the bottle back to the store, then it's still the most efficient way.
Would be easy. Brilliant. And Louise is also complementing the question because you mentioned about spillage. Is that significant to quantify like the waste of product in store?
So the better your system, of course, the less spillage. And what we've seen is that with the new system, we hardly have any spillage, so it's less than 1%. We have had seen spillage more in our bulk, so we use 15 liters containers to ship, and it's always a challenge to get that like emptied just at the minute when you're filling your last bottle. So we provide a little bit more than 15 liters to foresee some spillage, but it never works out that actual 15 liter is then actually also filled with the last bottle. You take the last drop of your 15 liters. And then also in the beginning we're working with piping. So the piping does not get all the liquid out of the box. Now we're working with pressure, so now we do get all the liquid out. We just need to find a solution that if you're like filling your last bottle and the bulk runs out, that you can then that it shifts to a next automatically almost to a next bulk that starts to step into it, and then you have no spillage. So that we know how to do it, but yeah, we haven't implemented it yet as technology.
Brian is ready, so he shared his presentation with me, so I'll share my screen and he will do the presentation. So I'm going to start sharing.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I've got a brand new laptop and it's just not configured to share presentations on Zoom yet. First off, too, I'd like to mention, really enjoyed Tom's presentation. I've heard of Ecover, but I haven't really dug into the business model too much, but there's a lot of really interesting oversights between Algramo and Ecover, without a doubt. So really excited to talk about those and kind of echo a lot of what Tom's saying and kind of emphasize how and why reuse can be really valuable and an amazing opportunity in countries like Portugal and really all over the world. So my name is Brian Bauer and I lead circular economy and institutional partnerships at Algramo. And what Algramo does, if we kind of distill it down to one sentence, is we work with global brands so they can keep their packaging in the economy and out of the environment. Next slide, please. So this here is the genesis of Algramo. And this is a photo taken by the founder of Algramo, Jose Manuel Muller, when he had decided he wanted to move out of his family's comfortable home and live with a couple friends in a really marginalized area in Santiago, Chile. And communities like this are really common across not just Latin America, but pretty much the entire developing world. And when you live in a community like this, quite often, due to having limited and volatile incomes, you're forced to buy in small format packaging. And when you buy that way, you pay about 40% more on a per unit basis for that type of consumption. And one of the key reasons is because you're buying in small format packaging. And when you buy that way, you pay way more, which we call the poverty tax. And that small format packaging is much more likely to end up in places where it shouldn't, like our oceans and various other places where plastic shouldn't be. So that's kind of the social problem and the environmental problem that Algramo looks to solve. And we originally started doing that with Algramo white label products, mainly detergent actually for washing clothes. and dish soap and household cleaning chemicals. Next slide, please. So I've just talked about the poverty tax, the social problem that Algramo looks to solve. And we created our reusable packaging system so that people can buy by the gram. Algramo means by the gram, and pay the fairest possible price so we can reduce the price people are paying for life's essentials by about 30 or 40%, enable people to consume without packaging waste. And one thing we're really excited about is the future of retail. We see major policy changes, especially in Europe. One of the most robust policy changes we see coming is in France. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. But what Algramo is platform technology that enables consumers to buy the product and not the packaging, which is really, next slide, please, which is really critical in a place like France. Because in France, in 9 years from now, all supermarkets over 400 square meters are going to be required to have 20% of their floor space for refill systems. So in the past, refill was kind of a nice to have for a lot of retailers, but not critical. But now it's becoming critical. And I wouldn't be surprised to see similar legislation like we're seeing in France move into the EU. Maybe not quite as high as this, but similar policy is quite possible for Europe as a whole. We'll see if that happens or not. Next slide, please. So what Algramo is an omni-channel platform technology that enables brands and retailers to sell their products at the most affordable price. And how we do that is with smart packaging. Smart packaging is one of our critical elements. Next slide, please. So this is a slide on our packaging as a wallet. That's with an Omo laundry detergent bottle. That's almost one of the top selling detergents for Unilever. And as I mentioned, Algramo started doing refill with its own white label products. And initially our reuse rates were really dismal. They were around 10%. We weren't very happy with that. We worked really hard and we got our reuse rates up over 80%. In 2018, that caught the attention of the CEO of Unilever Chile. And he reached out to Algramo and he said, hey, do you think we could do something together so that Unilever could sell their products in reusable packaging? And around that time, we used to think of kind of the Unilevers, the big brands, as kind of the enemy, and they're bad because they're putting all this plastic into the market. But we kind of did a rethink on the problem essentially. And the enemy isn't the big brands. The enemy is the plastic packaging escaping into places it shouldn't. So we thought, what better way to attack that problem and that true enemy, the plastic leaking into the environment, than to create a solution for those supply chains that are leaking the plastic, create a solution for those supply chains so that they can have their plastic be used over and over and over again. One of the biggest problems with plastic when it goes to places it shouldn't is that it lasts for hundreds of years. It lasts for a very, very long time. That's a huge problem when it goes places it shouldn't. If it stays where it should be used inside of the economy, creating service value for people, plastic is amazing. It can last for a very, very long time and create a lot of value and opportunity. So that's what we're doing is we're trying to change the way people are thinking about their packaging. And one way to do that is with packaging as a wallet technology. So what we do is we integrate an RFID chip under the label, and that enables the bottle to become intelligent. That enables us to have game-changing product traceability, which is critical to work with big multinational brands like Unilever. And it also does things like allow for really convenient purchasing mechanisms. So that means the bottle can communicate with our IoT connected vending machines. Those also create some significant synergies in the supply chain and help us reduce the product cost. We're currently selling, this is really critical for us. We don't want to be a solution that's for, people with high levels of disposable income that are concerned about the environment, because unfortunately that's a pretty small segment of the market. We want to be a mass market solution that appeals to anyone that's making a purchase based on the cost of the product. So currently in Santiago, we're selling Unilever's detergent for about 30% below the regular supermarket price. So you can buy it in the most sustainable way and save money. You can buy by the gram or by the liter. You don't have to buy the full 3 liters. You can buy a half liter if you don't have the money to purchase the full amount, and you still pay the exact same per unit cost as you would otherwise, solving what we call the poverty tax. Next slide, please. So this is some of our existing packaging. We're doing dog food with Nestle, dish soap with Unilever, and that's the Omo detergent, obviously. And then we started a project recently with Colgate in New York. And then this right here, I think you guys can see me. This is a bottle that we've co-developed with Walmart. We've recently started a pilot with Walmart in Chile. And this is laundry detergent for Walmart. So we're really excited to be having our first major retail pilot project. And we're also just the CEO of El Gramo, Jose Manuel Muller. He recently moved to London, and we're looking to set up a pilot project with a major retailer in London as well. And then shortly after that, other markets in Europe are attractive for us as well. Next slide, please. So what El Gramo is, it's got three critical elements. The first is an app. So this is a cross-brand application that brings all the brands together into one wallet that enables your cell phone via the app to put value into the packaging as a wallet. And then once your packaging is connected to a dispenser, which can be on an electric tricycle like you see there, it can also be a fixed one in a store. We're also doing dispensers in laundry rooms in the basements of apartment buildings. We're just starting a pilot in Jakarta in an apartment building with about 9,000 people in it. So the idea, once again, is you go down with your reusable packaging, you pay the lowest possible price, completely compete against sachets, which are a major problem in that part of the world. And you pay the lowest price. It's super convenient because it's right there. And a really critical thing too, Tom touched on this in his talk about the reverse logistics. We believe that reverse logistics are complex, they're expensive, both economically and environmentally. So we're really keen to have a system that eliminates the need for reverse logistics. And with packaging as a wallet, you don't want to share your wallet with the general public. It's your wallet. That same concept applies to the packaging, so it's got value in it. And we also do something that's quite interesting with Unilever, which we call a sustainable consumption credit. And how that works, for every liter of detergent you buy, approximately 10% of that cost of that liter goes back into the bottle. So your next refill is cheaper, about 10% cheaper. So we put value into that to try and change the way people think about packaging, because really for us, for Tom, for any refill system, one of the key things we really need to do is change the behavior and get people to think differently about their packaging. And we believe that economic savings, cost savings, are a really critical way, or a really optimal way to kind of nudge that behavior change as fast as possible. Next slide, please. So this is, I'll just go over this really quickly. So this is just kind of the user journey. One thing I didn't mention in the previous slide is the sanitization station. We're currently developing a sanitization station, which is not required for products like laundry detergent, but it can enable us to sell products that are required to be sanitized before the refill. As an example, beverage on the go or something like that. There's various types of food products. And once again, that sanitization station, our whole system is smart, and it knows if your packaging has or has not been sanitized, and it will block the refill if it's required to be sanitized. But that's something that's currently under development. Next slide, please. So this is our electric tricycle for Nestle. So this brings dog food to your doorstep and allows you to buy by the gram. And it's also quite valuable too, in that a lot of people in Santiago, say, live in a dense urban environment. They don't have a car. But, dog food is quite heavy and bulky. This brings it to your doorstep, eliminating that need to transport, 15 kilos of dog food from a grocery store to your home, especially valuable if you don't have a car. And it's electric transportation as well. Next slide, please. This is something we're really excited about in the center. That's our pilot with Walmart. It started in April of this year, and it's gone way better than expected. We've got pretty much, we've probably close to doubled the expectations of what we set a benchmark for what would be considered success, and we've doubled that. We've had some days where we've had 50% of the sales of detergent in the entire store come through our dispensers. So, it was just under 50%. So we've had some phenomenal customer reaction, and much like Tom, people really want, much like Tom said, people really want and value the opportunity to refill. They feel like they can actually do something and personally kind of impact things in a positive way, more than just recycling. Recycling is a pretty simple thing that's been around for, 40 years. The global economy is currently collecting about 10% of the plastic that comes into the global economy, or comes out of the global economy, and 2% of that is recycled at the same level, not downcycled. I mean, 2% after 40 years, that's not a system that's working very well. Refill, reuse is a very critical opportunity. It's a huge way to engage with people. One thing to note too for the brands is we've had, for some of our clients with the reusable packaging, they basically have a product that has a low customer loyalty rate, meaning if there's a good sale on, the consumer will buy the brand's competitor. But with our system, because we're the only one on the market with reusable packaging in Chile, where we're operating, the brand loyalty rates have increased by 200%. They told us that they would have been happy with like a 10 or 20% increase in brand loyalty because these are products with low brand loyalty rates. And we've increased their brand loyalty rate by almost 200%. So that's really amazing. In the upper right, you can see some kind of simplified dispensers we've created for the market in Jakarta. Those are the ones that are in the basement of an apartment building in the laundry room, and smaller format. And you buy the gram, and you're buying it right beside where you use the product. So great convenience. Next slide, please. Just some more pictures of the pilot with Walmart here in Chile. We started with 3 stores and we're soon expanding to, I believe it's 20 or 30 stores. And once again, massive demand, people love it, and everyone's really happy with the project. So we're really excited to be working with a large retail partner and looking to work with more. And Tom kind of touched on this too. I think retail is a really critical point. We're keen to explore other points that create convenience, like apartment buildings, strategic high traffic locations, some home delivery, etc. But I think retail is a really critical kind of, from a volume perspective and impact perspective, it's a really important place to have this type of option. And here with Walmart in Chile, we're doing 4 products. One is laundry detergent, liquid laundry detergent, fabric softener, dish soap, and floor cleaner. And those are all used quite fast. There's a lot of basically waste created if you use them without reusable packaging. So we're really excited on that impact potential. And we're also, another really critical point is we're selling the product for 10% cheaper than you pay for the conventional product. So once again, you're not paying a premium to do this. On the contrary, you're being rewarded economically for doing this through refill. Next slide, please. So this is just some of the different dispensers we're creating. We're strongly focused on liquid cleaning and personal care products. We see that as a really important area from an impact perspective, because there's a lot of plastic that's ending up into the environment and just coming out into the global economy is for those type of products. So we're really excited about being in that space. And we're really excited to get into beverage on the go, anything from water, soda to juice. We see that as a huge impact opportunity as well, but we currently have that under development right now. Next slide, please. So we can create some major synergies for retailers. As Tom mentioned too, it's really critical to be mindful of space and think how you can use this technology to create space savings. And one thing that's really exciting for retailers, for pretty much any refill system, regardless of whether it's El Gramo or any other one, is it's pretty simple to enable the consumer to buy how much they want. You don't have one SKU of 3 liters. The consumer can buy exactly how much you want. So with this one little dispenser, you can basically have what would take like a massive amount of floor space, because you have, basically an infinite amount of SKUs. So that's quite interesting. The systems are theft proof in the case of El Gramo, because you pay for the product with the packaging. So that makes it impossible to steal from the system with the El Gramo system with packaging as a wallet. Restocking is really simple. Quite often a store can have a good sale on their detergent and then they sell out and the store's really busy. It's really complicated to restock. With a system like El Gramo or EcoVer, I imagine you hook the dispenser to a new container in the back that has the soap in it or the detergent, whatever product it is, and then you're connected again to whatever size container you have. We structure the size of the container relative to the volume of sales. So our containers can be anywhere from 100 liters to 1,000 liters in size, depending on the volume. And another really critical point too for us is to have the packaging be reusable on the B2B side. So that packaging is basically invisible to the consumer. It's connected in the back to the dispensers, and that packaging is also reusable. So we think that's a really critical point as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick roadmap of where El Gramo was, where it is, and where it's going to. And like I said, our CEO just moved to London just like a week ago, literally. And we're working out on having a pilot there late this summer, early this fall. And after that, we've got interest in a couple key European markets in 2022, and we're soon setting up in Mexico City. And next slide, please. This is just some awards that El Gramo has won from in the past. And really a lot of these awards and a lot of these awards and recognitions, they're because a lot of these stakeholders really believe strongly that reuse is a really critical element in the future. And anyone working to bring reuse to consumers can save consumers money, increase brand loyalty rates, and keep plastic in the economy out of the environment, which is really critical. And we're focused on doing that. So that's my presentation, and I'm more than happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. It was brilliant to see your presentation with so many details. And I think I just love the way you said that the wallet is the packaging. So it's giving value to plastic, this is the reason why it gets lost in the environment, because there is no value. So really, really great what you have created. And I think now we will just go for our last questions. And I kind of have a question I can see popping in the Q&A, but it's just one umbrella question for both, because we cannot help wondering how was the refill business during COVID? So how both companies felt that. Was it a barrier for consumers to, refill by themselves, or this is not really an excuse to invest on refill stations in big retailers?
Do you want to go first, Tom, or do you want me to go first?
Same.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So actually, we did see an impact of COVID more on the retail strategies that they were disrupted from all sides. So implementing refill stations in their store was almost in the beginning was first on their list, and it dropped down to number 2 or 3. I mean, it never, with all the retailers we worked with, it never dropped off completely. But yeah, I mean, there were so many things to deal with that it's just a bit harder to get the program moving. But funny enough, from a consumer side, we haven't seen any drop because of COVID of the actual refill behavior. We've seen a consistent almost rise of refill. And especially there's a lot of talk about how COVID needs to kind of reset our economy. And reuse is one of those examples where I feel like COVID has given us that reset moment where we all need to then start rethinking how we're doing. And you see a lot of consumers actually using that reset moment to make new commitments and really to go into refill as a type of new behavior.
I would say on the El Gramo perspective, one thing, we sell cleaning products. So I mean, that's a huge advantage, obviously, in the context of COVID. And also too, we bring them to your doorstep. So in Santiago, we've had a pretty strict, we actually just came back into lockdown again. It's been a lot of time in lockdown, and it's been difficult you have to get permission to leave your home, you have to go directly to the grocery store, etc. So bringing cleaning products to the doorstep, there's obviously been a pretty significant increased demand for that. And in New York, what we did, because New York was obviously hit pretty hard in certain time periods, what we did in New York is we adapted our machines so that there's a QR code on the machine. You can scan that with your phone, and then you can control the dispensing of the product with your cell phone. So it's truly touchless. And with packaging as a wallet, like I said, you don't want to share your wallet with anyone. It's your wallet. So it's only you that touches the packaging. When you go to the grocery store and buy single-use packaging, you have no idea if 2 people or 20 people have touched that packaging and who they were and how clean their hands were. But with your packaging, it's your packaging and only your packaging. So we haven't really had any significant negative impacts from COVID. I think to the contrary, it's played to our favor and enabled us to help get people products which are essential, like cleaning products. And we're really, we're excited and happy that we're able to do that. And I strongly agree with what Tom was saying too about the COVID kind of has enabled people to think differently about things. And I think it will be a catalyst for positive behavior change in the future.
If I may, since we are reaching the end of our, obviously we didn't plan well, so this is a conversation that would take longer than 45 minutes because it's so rich and so interesting. But since we are now starting this work with the Portuguese retailers, with the manifesto, etc., if you could give us like one advice on how what can we use as an argument when we meet with them to get them on board, what would you highlight as the, well, it doesn't have to be just one, your best advice from your experience?
For me, it's an easy one because it drives a triple bottom line. It's a win-win both on economy and on and sustainability at the same time. So it's almost a no-brainer that they just need to go through. Of course, in the beginning, it takes a lot of time, like it takes a bit of time and effort to kind of set something up. But once it's set up, it's giving them value, both economically as from a sustainability point of view, and they will attract new consumers that otherwise wouldn't go shopping in their retailer if they start offering reuse.
I would say that waste management and recycling cost taxpayers a lot of money. It's a huge expense for any government. And ultimately, what we're talking about here is a strategy to reduce those massive costs and then enable people to take personal actions that contribute to society in a positive manner while paying the lowest possible cost. Like, I mean, that's winning everywhere. And it really makes sense for that to be happening. It's just a no-brainer, in my opinion.
Great. And I think also from the consumer perspective, you just mentioned that you can sell kind of a 30% cheaper than the normal packaging. So this is also a great benefit for consumers as well. So one thing to add on a list.
Yeah, another thing too to quickly add is like the brands and the retailers, they don't make money off of the packaging that gets sold. The packaging that gets sold is just a mechanism for the product to be consumed. To the contrary, when that packaging is finished, it creates cost for society, for recycling, for waste management, negative environmental costs if it ends up in the environment. So use that packaging over and over again, and you can create value and cost savings for the brand, for the retailer, for the end consumer. It's just win-win-win.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And you can only imagine that the price for single-use packaging will go up, like taxes on single-use packaging, and producers' responsibility for single-use packaging will get like more stricter, like you see in France as an example. I assume there will be also more European legislation that will start taxing single-use more heavily versus multiple use.
Yeah, Ellen MacArthur Foundation just yesterday announced a major EPR push for Europe, and that means I completely agree with Tom. I'm pretty sure there's going to be an increase in EPR fees. Excuse me.
I still have a lot of questions. We do have a lot of questions also in the question and answer, but we have to finish to keep with the schedule. So for my part, from Zero, I would like to thank you once again for taking the time in the different time schedules that you have. So Brian is in the morning. Now we are almost in the middle afternoon, and Tom probably is a little later than us, I imagine. So thank you so much for sharing with us. So this is being recorded. We will share it also with our networks so that more people will know about these examples, and be sure that we will be advocating for having more refill in Portugal.